Seattle Seahawks Today is your off-season headquarters for all things Seahawks, from daily news and rumors, live shows not just once but twice a week on Wednesdays and Fridays, and we're bringing you Madden Sims of every single Seahawks game of the 2024 season. Lock us in, never miss a moment with daily coverage you won't find anywhere else, including breaking news videos right here on the channel. Help us reach our next milestone, 52,500 subscribers, less than 150 away from reaching that mark. Join the family of 12. Subscribe now for free, and we'll get started with today's show. Could the Seahawks be in the trade market for Khalil Mack? We got a new rumor to get to that we'll break down on the All-Pro edge rusher coming up in just a moment. Also, Bailey Zappe, the New England Patriots quarterback. Could he find his way to Seattle? Got a new rumor on him that we'll explore coming up in just a matter of moments. Let's begin with Khalil Mack. Last Word on Sports suggesting that the Seahawks could make a trade for Khalil Mack in a brand new rumor, and one that is pretty interesting. I've been a big fan of Khalil Mack for a long time. They did just give him a new deal, so how exactly would that all work? Here's more from Last Word on Sports. It's easy to see why any team like the Seahawks are making reporters urge them to make this trade happen. Mack has been one of the elite pass rushers next to Bosa and his brother Nick Bosa in San Francisco. Pass rushing is one of the weaknesses of the Seahawks after ranking 11th in total sacks. Linebacker Bailey Zappe led the team with 9 sacks, but guys like Leonard Williams and Devin Witherspoon need some upside to the defense. Now, if you consider that the Chargers just restructured Khalil Mack's contract just a couple months ago within this offseason, and now you would think would have been the perfect time to potentially offload, to unload Khalil Mack from this Chargers team with the salary cap hell that team was in, a new head coach, new regime, and all that. They didn't do so. I would be very surprised if now, all of a sudden, the Chargers changed their minds and said, you know what? Now we're feeling like is the time to move on from Khalil Mack. But if it's a real possibility, if the Chargers are willing to shop Khalil Mack and make a move, I'm all ears, and I love this idea. And here's why I love this idea the most. Khalil Mack is not going to cost you that much in terms of trade capital, right? You're taking on a pretty decent contract with Khalil Mack that we'll talk about here in just a moment. He's an older guy now, still has a lot left in the tank. You're looking at giving up, a 4th-round pick next year? Khalil Mack's going to be better than any player you're going to find in the 4th round in next year's draft. And the resume when it comes to Khalil Mack is as good as you're going to find. He's a future first-ballot Hall of Famer, former Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time Pro Bowler, as recently as 2023, folks. He was on the NFL's All-Decades team back in the 2010s, and I know what some of you may be thinking, with him another year older, how much does he still have left? Well, if last year was any sign, it showed that Khalil Mack is not slowing down by any stretch of the imagination. 17 sacks in 2023. That was the best that he's done in the last 4 years. And I'll say this, the numbers are a bit inflated when you look at the teams that Khalil Mack had the majority of those sacks, mostly against bad teams. But still, 17 sacks in 17 games is impressive no matter who you're playing as far as that goes when it comes to Khalil Mack. The contract, here's the contract situation that the Seahawks potentially could be taking on. Mack is on a 1-year deal worth $19.2 million. I don't think that they are trading him right now, the LA Chargers, but let's fast forward to the trade deadline. Let's say for all intents and purposes, things aren't going the way the Chargers would hope, and their season is essentially over. They're out of contention, if you will. The Seahawks, we expect to still be a contending team come the trade deadline and be buyers at the trade deadline like they were last year with Leonard Williams. What about then for a potential trade for a guy like Khalil Mack? And think about the Seahawks when it comes to their guys, those pass rushers. Who's to say Uchenna Nwosu's going to hold up and still be healthy? Bailey Zappe, some of these other guys, Darrell Taylor's been inconsistent. This could be a move later on, and when we also talk trade deadline too, of that $19 million, at that point, the Chargers have already eaten up a decent chunk of change, if you will, at that point in time. So I don't think a trade happens now, but let's circle back to this later on in the season and see if Khalil Mack's a potential option when the trade deadline rolls around. Let's ask you in our pinned comment today, should the Seahawks trade for Khalil Mack? It's a simple yes or no question. You type Y for yes, you type in for no. Get in that comment section, let us know what you think. Father's Day just around the corner. I love my dad, and I might just have to get this for my dad. You should get this for your dad for sure. #1 dad Seahawks shirts on sale now at chatsports.com/SeahawksDad, and these are going hot, folks. You want to get yours. You can still get it in time for Father's Day, so Dad is taken care of. And although it's technically a Father's Day shirt, it's one that Dad can wear the entire year and tell all his friends that he's the #1 Seahawk dad out there. You might stumble upon some free shipping as well. Go see for yourself. Chatsports.com/SeahawksDad to get yours today. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. That's chatsports.com/SeahawksDad. Let's go on to New England now, where 12th Man Rising, the Seahawks Fansided site, is recommending that the Seahawks sign Patriots quarterback Bailey Zappe. Now, at the time of this recording, Zappe is still a member of the New England Patriots. He has not been released, but the expectation is, with drafting Drake May and bringing in Jacoby Brissett, that Bailey Zappe is going to be gone from New England sooner rather than later as a post-June 1 cap casualty, if you will. So where does that leave Seattle in the mix? Listen to this from Lee Val. If Zappe was released, the Seahawks could bring him in on a 2-year deal so that if Seattle does move on from Geno Smith after 2024, the team would save $25 million, and Zappe could back up Sam Howell in 2025. Zappe seemingly has no spot on the Patriots now after New England drafted Drake May and signed Jacoby Brissett in free agency. This is a waste for the same reasons that it is for the New England Patriots. There is no need for the Seattle Seahawks to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster, just like there's no need for the New England Patriots to do so. I'm more than okay. In fact, I'd recommend the Seahawks go get a practice squad quarterback that could potentially be elevated to the active roster if you decided to go with 3 quarterbacks. But I don't need to give up assets in capital for a guy that's going to be my #3 guy, even if it is just a 7th-round pick. No, thank you. The Seahawks are rolling with Geno Smith and Sam Howell. We know that. We heard Ryan Grubb say this week that his quarterbacks are freaking awesome. He was very optimistic about these two. And I'm not thinking in mind, all right, let's go with Bailey Zappe, bring him in, and waste a roster spot. So when Sam Howell takes over next year, potentially, then I have a backup quarterback. I'll get to that when I get to that. Bailey Zappe, former 4th-round pick. He's got plenty of experience the last 2 years. 4-4 overall record as the Patriots starting QB. I mean, he's not a great quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. Bailey Zappe is a decent backup. And I say all this to say, none of this is a knock on Bailey Zappe at all. I think Bailey Zappe's fine as a backup, but the Seahawks aren't in the market. They do not need an additional quarterback to take up a roster spot right now. Let's ask you guys real quick, what do you think about the idea of signing Bailey Zappe? You know how I feel. I'm opposed to this. What say you? Type S for sign, P for pass. Let us know if the Seahawks should sign Bailey Zappe or not. The Seahawks still have several needs that they need to address, I think, before the season begins. QB, not one. We'll tell you what those are, and we'll go over some insights on the needs for the Seahawks here in just a moment. But let's start with kind of where the Seahawks need to address things from here. The team needs where things stack up. Inside linebacker, not a ton of depth right now for the Seahawks at that position, and I would expect them to be in the market, whether it's free agency or trade, to try to go get some depth at that position. The safety position, the Seahawks have some question marks. We know that Mike McDonald wants to run 3 high safety looks. Do you trust Kobe Bryant for that? Do you trust Kayvon Wallace for that? I don't know. Might want to look at your options at safety. Tight end. Look, the Seahawks have done a complete makeover, an extreme makeover home edition with that tight end position. You brought in Noah Fant, but everybody else is new. but you don't have necessarily another receiving threat. I know some of you are going to say, yeah, you have Jack Westover you brought over from Washington, but at the end of the day, he's still a UDFA. I'm not going to count on Jack Westover, if we're going to be honest, as a UDFA. Still would like to see if they could potentially find a true receiving threat that's proven, that's done this before. Then the offensive line, still a big question mark. Abraham Lucas coming back from injury. We'll see how he progresses. And then you also have the question marks for the Seahawks when it comes to the interior of the offensive line, how quickly those guys are going to develop. All of that remains to be seen. So let's ask you, what's the biggest need for the Seahawks right now? Play in the comment section. Tell me what you think. What do the Seahawks need to address? Subscribe now to Seahawks Today for continuing Seahawks coverage each and every day on the channel. We'll see you next time. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us.